for making their facilities, their beautiful church and their churchyard, available to us, as well as the parish hall following. This is a very nice event from our point of view, but also we are very grateful for your hospitality. Now, I was going to talk a little bit about the history of the church. And you know, people who do history worry about dates. And so there's a little bit of imprecision. Now, this began as a mission church. Christ Church, Limerick, was founded in 1827, and then they founded St Philips as a mission church of Christ Church, Limerick. So it seems the earliest date which Church of England worship services could be held in the vicinity of Weston was probably 1828. And so St Philips Church historians date the year 1828 as the founding of St Philips Church, although first primary source for establishing date, the church's baptismal records begin May 29, 1831. However, there is a gravestone inscribed Isabella, a native of England, died August 26, 1828. So if she was buried in 1828, that shows there was a burial on the site. The Anglican Diocese of Toronto records indicate the first church erected on the site was about 1831. And so this date may therefore be taken as the starting date for worship services in a church building. We do love to work on these things, you know, when you're doing your history. Sorry about that. Now, the original St Philips Anglican Church was a frame building, and on either side of the pews, where the pews were set out, and at the back, under a gallery, were two large square pews. And Talbot Grubb, and we'll be talking about the Grubb family later on because they were very active in the church. He was writing in the history of the Grubb family, recorded, the family pew was purchased October 5th, 1837, and cost £2. So you had to pay for your pew seat, so to speak. It was a square with a door, and one half was owned by Tom Wadsworth. So presumably, if they wanted a private pew, it would be £4. And there is a hand-drawn plan of the interior, which has survived, on which are written the names of the pew owners. So now the first St. Philip's Church was destroyed by fire in 1888 and rebuilt on the same site. So we are presumably right on the same site of that very first little frame church. The new St. Philip's Anglican Church was formally opened October 1894. It was described as being a modified Gothic design, cruciform in shape. Not large, yet large enough for every future purpose. At one side of the chancel was a vestry, and the other side sufficient space accommodation for the organ, which was saved from the fire. So there's the organ, and I expect the vestry over there. There was one large heat register. Are you hearing me? Are we okay? One large heat register in front of the chancel steps, which supplied heat from a furnace sitting on a mud floor in the cellar. And Sunday school classes occupied a different pew in each of the pews in the church. Now, in 1930, there were about 50 families in the St. Philips parish, and the church seated 90 persons. St. Philips was a relatively small congregation. The close of World War II saw the open fields around St. Philips Church taken over by housing developments. The number of parishioners increased. The church required improved facilities to minister to the community. The parish hall, where we're going to have our tea, was built in 1850. And in 1855, the church was enlarged to accommodate 350 people. So here we are today with the church as it was renovated. However, now last year they undertook some renovations to make the church fully accessible. They added the elevator, and they also added, which I thought was a thing of beauty and probably heat saving, but I'm told it's a firewall at the end here. However, I don't think it detracts from the beauty of the church. I think that I quite approve of what they've done. Anyway, that's a very brief history of St. Philips Church. So I'll turn it over to Randall to talk about what you will see on the walls.
Am I being heard? Yes. I'm going to speak of some of the interior memorials in the church, and then we can, before we go outside, I'll give you an opportunity to look around and see them more closely. The lighting was installed here in 1936 in memory of Mildred Constance Madeline Graham. They owned property on Scarlet Road just south of Lawrence Avenue. It was a large Georgian-style home, and it was installed in memory of their daughter, who was killed in a car accident at that time. She was only 17 years old, I believe. At the back as well, there's a memorial for the Second World War. 60 men who volunteered from this congregation are listed on that memorial. The shields that you see above you at the end of the beams were designed and executed by Major Wilkes. The ones on one side all depict the various dioceses that the Anglican Church has belonged to in Canada since the 1700s, and the ones on the other side depict the County of York, the City of Toronto, Etobicoke, and various municipal governments. The stained glass windows on the left, on the west side here, the first one depicts the widow's mite. It was given, the farther one, by the Grubb family to the glory of God and loving memory of William C. Grubb, a lifelong member of this congregation who for many years was warden and lay representative to the Synod of Toronto, who died on the 3rd of July, 1934. He was one of the first students of Reverend Johnson, who founded Trinity College School in Weston, where it was for 6 years before it moved to Port Hope in about 1871, I believe. He was also served on council in Etobicoke and was deputy reeve and a school trustee. The other one is the modern version of the 23rd Psalm. It also depicts is a memory of the Grubb family. And the red circlet, if you notice on the top of the center window, was saved from the first church when it burnt down in 1888. And the other one is the one on the left side is in memory of the Graham family, and the depiction of the scripture verse, "The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us." The font that you see at the back of in the narthex was saved from the original church when it burned down in 1888 as well. And the cover for it was executed by Larry Clark, who was the builder of the parish hall, where we will have tea later on. The lectern that I'm standing at has an inscription that says, "To the glory of God and in loving memory of Sarah Louisa Wadsworth, for many years resident of Weston Mills, Etobicoke." It's interesting, they didn't know whether to say Weston or Etobicoke. 150 years later, we still don't know which to say. There's a gravestone out here that says Weston, and then in brackets it says Etobicoke, so they're still confused. It says, and during that time, she was a regular attendant of St. Philips Church. She was the second daughter of William Reid Wadsworth, who owned the mill. The windows behind me in the chancel depict the Sermon on the Mount with reference to "Blessed are the pure in heart." The memorial reads, "To the glory of God and in honor of the men and women of this parish who fought for civilization, 1939 to 45, in memory of Letitia Pegley Van Allen, and erected by her daughter." The Mawson donation over on the right-hand side recognizes the donation of this property in the 1830s from the Musson family. And the windows over there also are in memory of Reverend and Mrs. Frederick Robinson, who was a rector here from 1920 to 1930. And another one is in memory of members of the Horn family. There's also an interesting memorial there in memory of Lieutenant Darcy Green Wadsworth, who was killed in the First World War. He was buried in France. There's also a Chew tablet, C-H-E-W. It says, "To the glory of God and in loving memory of Emma and Elizabeth Chew of Yorkview Farms, Weston, who for many years faithfully served this parish, erected June 1934. Their farm was on the west side of Weston Road. 401 basically goes over the property today. And I'm going to read the next one. It's called the Wadsworth Bounty. It's where Louisa is standing there, just above her. It says, "The tablet states the nature of the bequests of Thomas Rodney Wadsworth and Charles Wadsworth in the terms of their will. T.R. Wadsworth's gift of $1,000 in 1893 was to be invested and the interest used for, quote, keeping in thorough repair the monument and railings surrounding the grave of Charles Wadsworth. He left £100 the interest of which should be distributed to the deserving poor of the village of Weston at Christmas time. He also bequeathed to St Philips Church a 50-acre farm in Caledon Township." The bell that's hanging in the bell tower was hung there in 1896, replacing 3 earlier bells that were destroyed in the fire here in 1888. And the inscription on the bell says, "To the glory of God in the highest, peace on earth, goodwill towards men. The 4th bell of St Philips Church, Weston, donated by ladies of the congregation, incumbent Reverend C.H. Rich, church wardens W.C. Grubb, Edward S. Musson, McNeely Bell Company, Troy, New York, 1896. This is tuned to B flat." So those are some of the memorials. If you'd like to have a look around, or if there's a question, we'll give you maybe 5 minutes or so to look around at those memorials, and then we will meet again outside the doors of the church.